So let's test some more stone points, but not on ballistics gel. You want to do it? Are you going to chase after the arrows as always? All right, let's go, come on. All right, so for this test, I've changed up the target medium. Before I was shooting at that ballistics gel. To be 100% honest with you, I think ballistics gel, when it comes to arrows, does not accurately represent the, the side of an animal, that thoracic cavity, getting through that shoulder blade and then reaching those vitals. So for this, I have a rack of pork ribs, and the rack of ribs really has essentially the meat, some of the fat, more importantly, has those rib bones. A couple of the points that I have specific for this shoot. This style of point is called a transverse point. Now the transverse point was kind of used during the Neolithic era. It was taken from a long blade, come off of blade core, broken on the lateral sides, creating a very sharp front edge. One bone one that's hafted together with some sinew and pine pitch. Then I have a couple traditional points that are just purely pine pitch glue. And then I have a couple other ones that are obsidians, cherts, all sorts of materials. Then lastly, this point is really just a flake with a little bit of light shaping around the edges. You can kind of see on this flake, there's an alternating of bevels. So this side over here sits higher than this side to see if it gives it any kind of a twist or a greater penetration. But this is just a flake that's been roughly worked along the edges, giving it a little bit of shape, held together with some of that pine pitch glue. So I've got everything from Keokuk to heat treated novaculite, bone, I've got obsidian, Georgetown chert in that transverse point. I have some hard kind of like yellowy sort of jasper. So we're gonna shoot these boys, see how they do on the pork ribs. The bow I'm gonna be shooting is a 65-pound hackberry Neolithic styled bow. This bow is 72 inches. I'm 6'2", so I believe that's 74 inches. This is just a smidge shorter than me, and it's got a good draw weight to it. Definitely appropriate for hunting and definitely appropriate for this little experiment. And these are the pork ribs. These will also be my dinner tonight, but we got plenty of ribs, we got some good meat. What I'm really looking for is to see what the stone does to the actual ribs. I mean, I've shot stone points into plenty of things before, to give you an example. So that first one was that transverse point, and I kind of hit it right off to the side, and it ripped a huge chunk out of the flesh. And I got meat all the way through the arrow up to about right here. I think I lost the point in the dirt, but still made a decent wound cavity. Let's do another one. All right. Well, take a look at it. That point broke. That was where it was hafted right there. That tip broke, split the arrow, but it made a hole on the backside. Well, that was just to the side of where these ribs are connecting. Point broke off. That one was hafted with some sinew and a little bit of pine pitch, but huge wound cavity. That would have hit some vitals. So this tip definitely broke, and we find a lot of points that are broken like this. The hafting's still held together, it's still in there. However, clean break. Where that impact is, I mean, it's sliced and diced through there, so obsidian's not a bad option. Expect it to break. Not bad. Point still intact. This is on a cane shaft. I'm not the biggest fan of cane. That was held together just with some pitch. Split the arrow. But you also got to think, this is just a few inches of a small target. This whole arrow would have made entry into the animal, stayed in that animal. Hafting break, point remains. I think you need something more than pine pitch. Nice. Right between the ribs, a piece of mahogany obsidian. Just detonated on impact, but nice wound cavity. Shot will kill. Good one, right between the ribs, another kill shot. That was a good one. The sinew and the pitch that was wrapped around it kind of gave way, but that was a much smaller point. It was one actually took off a wine bottle, but it went through. That's cool. So shot it, piece splintered off, came back through. Now, that point's long gone, but another break right before the haft. Again, all these guys are held together with that pine pitch. We have to remember, if this was a real animal, there's more of it. It's just not gonna hit, pass through, and then go into the void of nothing. It's gonna make deep penetration. Even all these little glancing blows, yes, they're glancing off the side of here, making big cuts, but there's animal everywhere around it. So all these are definitely kill shots. I missed that one. I'm glad it was with the bone. I hate shooting stone points, missing, put them in the dirt, they usually break. So that was the bone one. Hit it, it's a little bit loose in the hafting as far as it being wrapped with sinew, but still made a good wound cavity. So after everything is said and done, you can definitely see just the remnants of some of that pine pitch glue, and like this guy right here. That piece of stone is embedded in that bone. That was a tip of one point. But huge, huge wound cavities on the entry side. Some glances off of this target, but when we flip this guy over, you can see where it's gone through. Here's those side wounds. That's a full pass through. That's a full pass through. That's a full pass through. Same thing with that one. That's the bone. This is the meat in between. So this one hit some of the bone. This one went between the meat, between the meat, between the meat. Then all these guys are off to the side. So definitely stone points will do it. You got to think this is just a small target trying to get through, giving you an idea what those stones will do. These were the results that I pretty much expected. So these are the points that for the most part made it through. These are all break-offs with a little bit of a tip break. And then we have this one obsidian one that kind of broke off right in the middle of it. This is expected, you know, you're always going to find points that are in their original form, maybe a little damage to the edge, or you'll find them just broken at the haft. That could be reworked and rehafted, or even a couple points that have broken off with a little chunk remaining, completely broken off at the half point, and then have just been completely destroyed. A handful of arrows just kind of split, and you can see some of the dirt that went through there. But it looks like this guy made it through the actual ribs and then into the dirt. But the one that held up the best, which was this little bone one. You know, bone's pretty rugged. It's going to take an impact. It's definitely going to last. But I would definitely use this for some small game, going after, you know, any rabbits or raccoons or anything that's of notable size. Nothing that's too much, you know, falling into that large game realm. Based on the actual size of that target and just understanding it's a few ribs with a little bit of meat on the side. A lot of these arrows made it through that meat section that's between the ribs. Definitely a kill into that thoracic cavity. A couple points broke, a couple arrow shafts broke, a couple points just came dislodged. But all in all, stone points are very effective. They will do some damage. That I think some of you saw is that when those stones made impact and they hit that meat, they flew off. You got to think those stones are flying off into the nothing behind it. That was an actual animal. That stone point would still be inside that animal. Those shards would be in that animal if it broke off or chipped off and hit a rib, and it would cause major chaos. All of the movement of the animal and those little stone fragments are just going to lacerate vessels and tissue and muscle, and it's just going to lead to a much quicker bleed out, ultimately leading to that meal. All right, that is another stone point test on a rack of ribs. Thanks for watching.